We are going. What's going on with everybody? It is your boy Eric, aka Young God, coming to you live in the Green Dungeon, giving it to you real raw rugged. And I have a special guest on the other line. Who do I have here today?
What's up? It's Kia.
Hey, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. This is our second time. Um,
Yeah.
I appreciate it. How have you been since the last time we spoke?
Um, I feel like I've been in every state you can imagine. Overall, I'm blessed. I'm out here still alive.
All right, all right. Are you in New York or something?
Yeah.
Got you, got you.
I'm,
How's that terrible shithole?
I mean, that was a loaded wet ass. It's fine. It is. It is. It is. That's what I'll say.
Are you a New York person?
I live here,
Oh, you
and
live in New York.
I live in New York, and I've lived in New York for the past 10 years.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
So, am I a New York person? Yes, but I'm from Chicago,
Yeah.
so I think I just am a city person, and I like New York
I
for
knew
right now.
I knew you were from Chicago. Did not know you lived in New York. I had somebody tell me that Chicago was nothing but like New York like junior. Is that true?
I guess it depends on you ask. I would say Chicago is Chicago, and New York is New York. I think I understand what they mean in the sense that it's like similar but a smaller city, which I would say yes, it is smaller with less people. Um, and it's like a little cleaner
Yeah.
as like a little bit like the whole like rats thing. I like that wasn't like a phenomenon to me until I came to cities like New York or Paris. Um, but yeah, I would just say it's like same shit, just smaller city. Like same type of gentrification, same type of like segregation, same type of like cultural shit that comes from those like um, what's the word? Um, like systemic setups, if you will.
New York isn't segregated, is it?
I would say New York is kind of like hyper segregated, and with gentrification and like how class and social stuff works, and like the fact that there's so many different schools, like universities, but also high schools around that are like multiracial. I feel like there's like a hyper segregation where, like in Chicago, I'm used to like I grew up on the southeast side of Chicago where it was like mostly black people, mostly African American black people specifically, and the Chicago I grew up in, black people lived on the west sides, white people lived on the north side, Latino Hispanic people lived on the west side and also the south side, but kind of separate from us. African people live separate from us. Eastern European people live separate from us, and it would kind of just be these long, like you go sometimes a mile or two, and it's just a group of people. Whereas here in New York, it'll be like block by block,
Mm.
especially in places like Crown Heights was like the first neighborhood I lived in when I moved to New York. I lived in Brooklyn, Crown Heights, and it was kind of shocking to me how it would be like 2 blocks of West Indians, 2 blocks of Hasidic Jews, 2 blocks of West Indians, 2 blocks of Hasidic. And it's not exactly like that, but it's more like densely segregated. I don't know. There's probably like actual terms for what I'm talking about.
No,
So,
sure.
but
It,
yeah,
it's always interesting learning about like up north because I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, and like in
okay,
Jacksonville, there's
yeah,
I mean, like you said, like Eastern Europeans or whatever, like they live separate from everybody. I don't know
yeah,
if I ever met an Eastern European person growing up in Jacksonville. I knew one Jewish person growing up.
hmm
It's
hmm
not that's not like a common thing. Like here, it's really just Black Americans and white people. You know,
yeah,
and like everybody else is far, very, very, very far and few in between. So it's always interesting
yeah,
hearing people being like in New York, because when I say it's New York segregated, I think of New York growing up with like literally every type of human being you could think of is like in New
totally.
York, and like they're living around each other. So you just saying like it was like a hyper segregation thing that was interesting. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Ellis Island is here, which was a hub for so many different immigrants who wanted to come and earn a better life, live a better life for themselves. But like white supremacy in America still existed, right? So people still got put in groups, and there were people who like weren't white and then became white. Like Italians and Eastern Europeans are negro people. I think it's interesting, like in the South and especially in Florida and in the Midwest, is similar. I think we have a different relationship with like immigrants and like the workforce and people being drawn here at that time, and and there are some Eastern Europeans that live in the South Side with Black Americans, and there used to be like Italians who would live in the South Side with Black Americans too, because they used to not be white until like I don't remember exactly which president it was, but then there was this white flight. Same with the Irish in Chicago too, where suddenly Irish folks are now white, Italians are now white, Eastern Europeans are now white, so they're fleeing the neighborhoods with Black and brown people, and they want their own separate neighborhood. Like, I wasn't alive during that time, but I grew up hearing that time being referenced, and I can see the physical like impact of that. And that maybe just because the nature of Florida being where it was geographically, there wasn't as much immigration, but I would argue that there probably are Eastern Europeans in Florida. I'm not sure about Jacksonville.
Yeah, just my North
yes.
Florida, just specifically North Florida where
North
I'm at.
Florida,
What I'm
gotcha.
saying. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I think it's interesting, like, I feel like people don't know as much about, like, how Chicago food, like, I grew up in the South Side around mostly Black people, but I grew up eating, like, bratwursts and Polish sausages and this sandwich called an Italian beef, which was, like, strip steak that was, like, marinated in this gravy, and then you put it in a hoagie, and then you dip the whole hoagie in the gravy and eat it wet like that. Like, that was our hood food, like, there was like even though Chicago was segregated, there was a rich, dense enmeshing of culture, and it came out in things like the food we eat, which I feel like is like very indicative of like how there's like an Indo-Jamaican cuisine, for example, like when people get pushed into communities because of colonialism or because of white supremacy stuff, you may not see them culturally get along, but you will see the remnants and stuff like food and stuff like that. Anyway.
No, y'all niggas in the hood eating like kings and queens. It sounds like y'all niggas exotic sauce and you eating what?
I mean, those things have gotten segregated now. It's like now you got to go downtown or go to the north side to get the good Italian beef, but you could maybe get a good Polish sausage in the hood still.
History lessons with Kia. Anything else you got history wise? I'm liking this. Anything else you got?
I feel like this is less of a lesson and more of like things you should look up, things that I vaguely know that you should research and then tell me your findings.
Would you say like would you say you're interested in stuff like this though? Like just things that we're talking about, kind of just like anthropology type of history type of conversations?
I absolutely am. Sometimes I miss like the era of your life where your only job is to go to school because you have so much time in your day to just learn stuff, and I feel like I don't know if I could learn as much as I would like to learn in the time of day that I have. But yeah, I do find all of that interesting. I find like just like the nature of like why we are the way we are, why we like live the way we live, all of it fascinating, and all of it shapes like my existence, and I know we can feel that, especially as Black people, Black Americans. So much about how the world works shapes our lives, and so I think it starts from knowing that. But yeah, I also feel like when you are like a young Black person, you are aware of how the world shapes you. Sometimes our interest in that naturally stays fixed on like studying white supremacy, and I'm interested in that, but also just generally what people have done, how necro-political geographies have been shaped, why they have been created, what events impacted this event, that impacted that event, that made these people are. It's like I just find it so amazing that the world is so big and that there are so many like I've only been alive for 33 years, and most of my 33 years is like living on the south side of Chicago, knowing what I know, and then I think about how someone else spent 33 years like in a completely different part of the world, speaking a completely different language that they know like the back of their, and like that's their existence, and that was happening at the same time as somebody else's. I don't know. All of that is just so crazy to me. Like, it's so wild to me. It's like I feel like you could never learn everything that there is to learn about the world and people. So I at least want to like try to learn as much as I can. as I
Well,
can.
I
Yeah.
know I know the album's coming out soon, so you're about to be traveling. I'm pretty sure buses, flights. So can I suggest you a documentary that you may be into?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
This documentary was people don't, niggas don't think I'm getting paid to promote. I've said I promote this documentary like in every interview I've done this year, but it's called a soundtrack to a coup d'état. Have you heard of this?
It sounds familiar, to be honest.
So it was
Soundtrack
just it
to
was
a coup.
just it was just nominated for an Oscar this year.
Okay.
And
Maybe
it's
that's why I heard of it.
probably and it's about
Yeah.
essentially. Are you familiar with Patrice Lumumba?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a documentary about essentially like him and how the Congo was being colonized by Belgium and how like America was using like American jazz artists to try to like help infiltrate Congo to kill him. So they were sending over like Louis Armstrong and Dizzy and people they weren't even aware of what was going on. They're thinking, oh, I'm doing this for the black people or whatever. But they're like, we're trying to like cozy up with them and build a relationship with them by sending you over here. And yeah, it basically incorporates American jazz music, uh, African or Congo music, Patrice Lumumba, and like how he was killed and everything. It's very, very intriguing.
Amazing.
So, a soundtrack to a Cooper Top. If you want to watch that, that's a good one.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good one.
That sounds like a great one.
A lot of good
I'll
music too.
like
I feel like there's a lot of good music in there you will like songs you've never heard, just like old, like black songs and old African songs. Really good stuff.
okay.
But
Thank you.
current new black songs, you have the song that's stuck in my head right now.
What's on?
So I haven't even introed the album or anything, but I have to just talk about it because it's in my head.
Yeah.
It's funny, I haven't been paying attention to the track list, so I don't even know the name of the song, so I'm just going to sing it for you. But it's the what did you say? It's time to say goodbye. Facing those in my life and apologize.
Yeah.
I don't know
It's
who
called This Time.
this time. I don't know who Rara Gaban is, but that is
Rara Gabor.
Grogu Gabor. See, my fault, Rara Gabor. See, I need to get the name right. That is possibly my favorite feature of 2025. I don't care what genre. That verse is crazy. Love
Yeah.
that verse.
She's
She's nuts. The way
yeah,
she
she's
I didn't think you was gonna do me fouler than swine. She was wilding on that verse. What? Crazy verse. And was that intentional for her to be the only feature on there? Because I mean, I don't know if anybody else could have had a feature to compare with that. That's verse is crazy.
yes and no. I didn't intend to have any features.
Mm.
But when I made that beat, I immediately sent it to her. I was like, you have to be on this. And I wound up writing something that I liked to it, but I was like, I still want her on it. And I had already started to write this, like, oh, we going our separate ways, huh? Like, we're separating. I kind of had it, I was thinking more of like the breakdown of a female friendship kind of thing.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, now this will be a cool concept for me and another woman. She's rapping and I'm writing, and we're talking about the breakdown of like a friendship from the female to female perspective, woman to woman perspective. But I also was just like, at the end of the day, I don't want to limit her creativity. So I was like, just write a verse, and then we'll go from there. And she just happened to write a verse about meeting a guy and then being like, actually, not, you did me dirty. So I was like, okay, that still perfectly fits going our separate ways thing. And then I kind of like shaped my part around hers. But yeah, like, yeah, I was like, if there's going to be any feature on this one, it'll be Rara. It'll be Rara. I don't know. I'm just so she really slid like cutie pie, gutter guy, shutter shy. Like what?
Cutie pie got a guy running shot. Like the way it was insane. Like the way that, like, wait, did she do the same rhyme scheme the entire verse? Am I tripping or?
No, she switched up the flow a little bit, but yeah, yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Crazy.
Midway.
That is such a crazy verse. Your melodies on that song also are some of my favorite. Just the little part with the and the time is a for persuasion. That little part right there, I love that part. That little part of that melody, because I don't think you do that melody throughout that song. It's just that one part with the persuasion. Crazy song, crazy melodies, crazy
Thank you.
feature. I love that song so much. Now, before we get into the album, I do want to make this statement to people. If you are going into this album thinking you're getting Forever Your Girl Part 2, that's not what this album is. This album is completely different. I don't know if you agree with that, but you did not make the same album twice. This is a completely different album. I feel like it sounds like you're in a completely different stage in your life. A lot of things on this album is much different. It's still KeiyaA, but it's a different album.
I
You'd
would
agree.
say yeah.
This album.
I mean, yeah.
I'm fine. Keep. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go for it.
No, actually, this album feels grown. Like I don't know how to put it, but like
Mm-hmm.
I feel grown. Like I feel like I don't even feel like I'm old enough to listen to this album. Sometimes you just feel grown. It feel like I'm supposed to like have like I don't know, just a bunch of grown person responsibilities. Listen to this like a 30 and up album. Sometimes it just feels that way. I don't know. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, but it just feels grown as hell sometimes.
I love that. I mean, I'm 33 now. That's pretty grown. Even though I do feel like I've felt younger throughout my life, but I feel a different sort of freedom that I felt in my late 20s that I didn't have. I felt a lot very serious in my late 20s, you know. But it is grown. I mean, it's. I felt like I thought that I was younger than I was. I feel like I saw myself as like 19-year-old teenage KeiyaA still
Hmm.
for a long time, and the last few years have sort of forced me to understand myself as the adult and face all the adultness that I have been experiencing because I've been an adult, for a long time now. But like,
Yeah.
when you actually like when your perceived self and actual self, when you are aware of the dissonance between the two and the liminal space begins to crumple and you're like in the middle of it, facing yourself, like, yeah, I guess the end result is something that feels more grown because I just ultimately decided that it's time to accept and acknowledge and embrace who I am. That's part of my life now.
Something like Take It. I feel like I feel super grown listening to Take It. I feel like I'm supposed to be wearing one of them neo soul like Talib Kweli hats when I'm listening to that song.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like, yo,
Shut
this
up.
I'm like, yo, this grown as hell, man. I didn't expect this. I think a lot of people are going to hear this, and honestly, that's why I said I don't want them to expect part two of the last album because this is a different approach, and I love that. It's like somebody like I remember Kendrick saying like he never wants to make the same album twice. Like he doesn't want to be like, oh, this is just it's a Pimp Butterfly Part Two, or this is Good Kid, Mad City Part Two. And this is what it feels like you're doing. Is this going to be like a conscious effort throughout your career where you aren't making it twice, or have you haven't thought that far in advance about stuff?
I definitely don't want to make the same album twice. I don't want to get so in my head where I'm like so worried about the listener that I'm trying to like, whether I'm trying to deceive them or impress them, I don't want to care that much about the listener. I want to like follow my heart and desire. But I think that naturally, I also do have this like I'm trying to be different
Mm.
part of me all the time, and so yeah, I definitely want to make like not the same album twice. Like I'm already writing new music, and I'm already like, ooh, like I really want to focus more on my voice and like writing, like my songwriting and my singing, you know. Whereas this last album, I was like, I really want to focus on my producing
Mm.
and my like vocal production and expression. You know?
Production also very different because I remember saying like my first thought of Forever Your Girl was that like this sounds like if RZA executive produced an R&B album. I remember thinking that, and then I listened to this and I'm like, this is not that at all. This is completely different style of production. Like even something like I didn't write this song down. Once again, like I said, I'm failing remembering some of the song titles, but I know the melodies. The
Mm-hmm.
one where you're doing the it's the auto tune one. It's like one of the auto tune songs. You like
Late.
you do like that, like a staccato.
Oh,
What is that?
late.
That's late.
I think it's about late. Yeah.
Late sounds nothing like anything I've heard before, so that made me think, what made her use autotune for this album? Because there's few songs where you experiment with autotune.
I've always loved Autotune. You know, I've always loved like T Pain. I love like Afro beats. I love bouillon and Haitian music, like Caribbean music. There's a lot of music across the diaspora that just uses autotune, straight up. You know, I love the way autotune is used in like Euro house and like pop
Mm.
too. You know, like not necessarily melodyne, like straight up crunchy electric autotune. You
Yeah.
know, like I also love like the talk box and like Zapp and Roger and like you know the '80s era of like soul, where people were like really processing the hell out of their vocal.
Yeah.
You know, so and it really comes from that. But like one of the first artists that inspired me to like start producing my own music was Party Next Door.
Really.
Yeah, like I already was like, oh, I want to sing. This was when I was in jazz school playing saxophone still. And I was like, yeah, I am a singer. And I was kind of like, oh, I want to sing over other people's beats. You know, I want to sing a songwriter and I play saxophone, but I want to sing over other people's beats, you know. But what inspired me to start producing was hearing that first P&D mixtape that came out and learning that he produced
Mm.
all of it himself and hearing how melodic and dense it was with this like super processed like it sounded like he had guitar pedals on his
Yeah.
vocals, and I just always thought that was really cool, you know. But I think the reason why I didn't like even before I made Forever Your Girl, I was into that music and experimenting with auto tune. But I think I just was sort of shy about it because I was in this mode of like really trying to prove myself and show off my skills,
Yeah.
and that included showing off my voice. And I was like, well, I can't have auto tune over my voice. But I was already performing with a vocal pedal and stuff anyway, so I was like, you know, who cares? Who
Yeah.
cares? This is a part of me. And it's funny because I kind of made a lot of those auto tune songs on the album all around the same time.
Mm.
And I initially was gonna like release like an EP of just that, but I just kept making songs, and I was like, actually, no, this in the greater context feels better.
I feel like you're gonna have a lot of pretentious fans that are like, "What is this auto tune she's using?" But that goes back to what you just said. That I guess you're not really trying to think about what fans are going to think when you make music. You're just making what you like for the most part.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that was hard for me, but I think I need to lean into that.
Yeah. Block out the noise. Like I said, I feel like people who like that's like if Mike has Mike ever I don't know if Mike ever used autotune, but if Mike ever used autotune, I feel like he has a
Mm-hmm.
fan base that would just be like, you know, like they're like, oh no, like this is not like the mainstream crap that I want to hear or whatever, you know. And it's interesting. It's like sometimes I feel like a lot of people that I like that make black music, their fans don't represent them per se. It's like No Name when I interviewed her and she was just saying like she's making the super black music, but she's performing in front of a crowd full of white people, and it's like this isn't the crowd that I'm per se making the music for, but these are the people that are listening to me. Have you ever dealt with that or no?
I get very lucky at this stage of my career where the majority of my crowds are mostly black.
Really? Okay.
It's really when I'm obviously when I'm playing in Europe, those crowds aren't mostly black, but I still bring out a lot of black people.
Mm.
When I play in Europe and the UK still, you know, it's mainly when I play festivals that the crowds are mostly white. Um, but I have dealt with that because I grew up playing jazz, and playing jazz, especially jazz in Chicago. You know, I went to a college that was mostly white instructors and mostly white students studying jazz. I was the only black woman, like one of two black women who played a horn in the whole jazz program, and one of like maybe 10 to 15 black women in the entire music department, most of which were vocalists. So absolutely dealt with that all the time of like being surveilled, of being invisible, and like the white gaze, and particularly the white male gaze, um, being at the center of the culture at which you are like operating under. I mean, they were the instructors too. Like I remember, it's like what was weird about the way the jazz education was set up, at least in the school I went to, was like you spent your like undergrad, like you spent your like first couple years focusing on like learning theory, getting your technique up, and getting your performance done, and you didn't start getting to do more like research based stuff until like junior senior year, and especially your senior year. Like you started taking musicology, for example, your junior year, and you take musicology to your senior year. So it's like you don't start learning about the context or getting an entry point to like talking about the context around the music until you've already been playing the music around these people and learning from these people for like 2 years of your life, and then it's still being taught by white men.
Mm.
You know, so you don't know. You really don't know what you're learning, and the things you are learning are still through the gaze and perspective of them.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, and that kind of shaped my relationship with like how I saw myself as a musician. Luckily, I was in Chicago, where there was a rich black underground scene, and we heavily engaged with non-blacks, of course, but like black people stuck together in a way. And so I was provided some sort of safety within that, even though I dealt with like a lot of like colorism and fat phobia. So there still was that white gaze overseeing the culture we operated under still, even if we weren't necessarily around as many white people.
No, it is interesting because while I didn't go to school for music at all, I took one. I took an African American music history class,
Oh,
and it
cool.
was for what do you call it? It was for like an extracurricular class that I needed. And I'm like, oh, this would be fun or whatever. Definitely two white professors. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Still could be good. And I'm just silly. It was funny. Like the white lady was singing Negro spirituals. Uh,
Singing them?
I have videos of it. Of me just.
Oh, like, why did you have to sing it?
I mean, she and that thing
Wow.
singing her heart out to it. I'm like, hey
Wow.
man.
Wow.
So I say that to say if I was going to school for music and I'm trying to learn about like rich black history and music or whatever, and I'm being taught by this small white woman with a very like she doesn't have like some voice where it's like white singers where it's like damn she kind of sound black. No, she sounded like she sounded very much like a white woman, and it's just like you can't. I feel like you really can't. It's almost like this. It's like people who speak about like black culture, but they learned it through the internet, and they actually didn't grow up in black culture. And it's like you can only learn so much about really any culture. I mean, it's like let's say I'm not gay, but it's like let's say if I'm learning about gay culture through the internet, never met a gay person. There's only so much I can understand without being around gay people, talking to gay people.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like I could learn you could do all the research and scholarly books you could read them, but it's like until you actually around people, you gonna be like, damn, I ain't read about that. Like, I ain't read about this. It's like, yeah, you kind of got to be in that environment. So, listening to you talking about like want to make black music, but you're being taught by white people. That's had to be like a weird dichotomy at that time. Like how do you feel like you kind of broke through and like made your sound? Because your music is about black as a black could be. You know what I'm saying? Like I would have never guessed you was being taught by white people. So like, do you feel like you were ever negatively influenced by it? Like, man, like I can't do this. Like my professors told me this is not the way to do it, but you're like, no, I can do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, did you ever fight that feeling sometimes?
I mean, that was my process in making this album, was me actively choosing to like fight against that critical manager in my brain. That was like, these are the rules you must follow. And like, it's funny because I think there are a lot of jazzy moments where I follow some jazz rules. Like Thirsty, I listen to Thirsty and I'm like, damn, the way I resolve that chord is really jazzy. Or like the last note in Stupid Prizes, that's a jazzy note to end a song on, to end a run on or whatever. Like, it's like I'm following rules, but I'm choosing to break other rules by like doing the super Disney jazz thing. I don't know. So yes, all that to say, like, yes, I'm like fighting against, the elders in my brain. It's like, that's not how you do it. This is how you do it. Which was like really hard. I'm
Mm.
not gonna lie, it was really hard, but also really fun.
I think you did a great job, by the way. I think you did a good job, really good job, like creating, like I said, a different sound. Because you were talking about like taking it from different sounds in a diaspora. Uh, freaking break it makes me want to do like a tribal African dance that I definitely don't know how to do. You know what I'm saying? Like I just that break it. I don't know what about it. It just sounds very very African to me, and it's just like yo, I just want to do like some African dance that I don't even know how to do for real. It's such a good song. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, you take it to somewhere like Kiss that sounds like a early 2000s like kind of R&B song. And I checked the credits. I see Scott Storch is on the credits. Is he sampled? Does he work on it? I didn't know what that was.
I sampled Scott Storch. I
Got you.
sampled Scott Storch. Um, I sampled what he sampled, but he had already chopped it. Like, I sampled what he sampled and chopped for the production of this Jadakiss song featuring like, "You Make Me Wanna." It's like KISSB. So it's kind of like a tribute to that song, like a nod to that song. Um, and yeah, in the nature of clearing the sample, they get writing credit. So yeah,
Got you. I had no clue if Scott Storch was like smoking a cigarette like in the studio making the song with you for a second. I was gonna say that.
my dream, my dream actually.
That's funny. But like listening to you, that wouldn't be the first person in my head to be like, oh yeah, like her and Scott Storch would make like an amazing song together. But now hearing this, I'm like, I need to hear her and Scott Storch actually in the studio.
I would love that.
Is there? I guess he shouldn't be left field, but is there any like other left field people that you think people may be surprised that would be like a dream collab for you, rather as a producer or a singer or a rapper or whatever?
Hmm. I would love to work with Amy Lee from Evanescence.
Hmm.
I think she has a beautiful voice. I would love. I feel like this is expected though. Like, I would love to work with Ryan Leslie in the studio, but I feel like that's not so unexpected. Um, there's a singer songwriter. She goes by the name of Fine. I would love to work with Fine. It's like guitar music, really good stuff.
I feel like Ryan Leslie, low key, might have been doing what he was doing in like the wrong era. I feel like
He was so ahead of his time, right?
I feel like more people in this era would be like geeking out over like this guy just doing all this crazy stuff, whatever. But I feel like at that time people were like, "Nigga, we don't care about you doing all these instruments or whatever." But like, I feel like if he was doing that now, I feel like there were more like kind of music nerds that would have like been geeking out over what he was doing.
Totally, totally. That me, I'm music nerds.
Yeah, yeah,
Kicking out
exactly,
over it now.
exactly,
It's so
exactly.
inspiring. Like I listen back to that album a lot, and I'm like, man, these are also just beautiful songs too.
Is he around still? Is he still making music?
Yeah, he does. He does stuff like direct to consumer, like
Got you.
text,
Got you.
text, and yeah, like he has album. I think he still releases albums, but you can only get it like directly from him.
Got you. Got you. Got you.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ryan Leslie. Just looking through this track list. Like I said, there's so much good stuff on here. Until we meet again is really amazing. I think that's like such a good way to close out the album. What else on here do I really love? I love everything on here. Stupid Prizes. That was the first single, right? And
Yes.
I thought that was such a beautiful thought that was such a beautiful song, and you're doing interesting things on there that, like I said, so that's the first time we're hearing you on a song of yours since what, 5 years ago, basically.
Basically.
And you're doing certain things with your vocals that I hadn't heard you do, on that song specifically, where it's almost like you're yelling. It's almost like you're not trying to sound perfect on certain parts, because like at the beginning you're like I don't know, you sound good. Like you don't sound good, but you sound like in tune or whatever. But there's certain parts just throughout this album where I feel like you're like fuck trying to sound like on key or whatever. I just gotta get this point across. I don't know if I'm reading that wrong, but it's certain parts of the album that sounds like that.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more relaxed in the expression, and there's still a part of my brain where I hear stuff where I'm like, damn, I should have but it is like effective in the expression of the emotion,
Yeah.
which is like more important.
You know what
It's
that
more
is to me?
important.
That's like blues. I feel like if you listen to like certain blues artists, they're not trying to hit every key sometimes. It's like I just want to like me hitting this key isn't showing you how I feel for real. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to
Yeah,
manufacture something, trying to hit this key, but I'm trying to get this point across, and I can't get this point across if I'm singing in the key of G right now. I'm just gonna say it how it is. You know what I'm saying? So I do appreciate you doing that throughout this album. If I guess if somebody is, for hypothetically, seeing you for the first time on my channel, never heard a song by you, what would you recommend them listen to on this album?
ooh, I would say listen to think about it.
Mm, all right, all right, all right. Before we get out of here, I feel like you're in such an interesting space right now, with what you do, with just by your production, your music, but you're like a black woman. You're like a black woman. You're a black woman. You're like a black woman. You're a black woman, and I feel like there's not a lot of black women in the space that you're in. Kind of like in this underground realm. Like at least when I think about it, I feel like it's just rap in general is a male dominated space, but the underground space you're in is definitely male dominated. Do you feel any, what's the word? I don't know. Do you feel comfortable in that space? Do you feel like you meet restrictions? Or do you feel like you're welcome? Do you feel like you face things because you're a woman? You know what I'm saying? Like how, like in specifically the underground space, do you feel like a black woman like yourself is met with like, just like kind of things that happen because you're a black woman?
Yeah, I deal with misogyny in the underground world.
Yeah.
Niggas, niggas a lot. And there's a lot of abusers, scammers, charlatans, or just like, egotistical or just rude
Yeah.
men. And
I don't mean to cut you off, but calling a nigga a charlatan is hilarious. That's yeah, nigga on some fuck. A nigga a charlatan? Hey, that nigga that tripping, boy. My fuck.
scammers. That's what
But no,
scammers.
but you've been met with, I guess, people where you're just like, yeah, this, because I don't know. I feel like when fans think about the underground, it's like, oh, all these people are like the greatest people on earth. Like these are the most progressive and coolest people. But
I mean,
yeah,
yeah, I think at the same time you do, like, everything is everything. I
yeah,
think at the same time you do tend to find more people that are more down to earth and more community minded and more radical, because a lot of the times those spaces have to and can only exist on the underground,
mm-hmm.
to a certain extent. So that is also true. I don't want to just say, oh, it's only shit out here. It's not that, but it is a lot of that too. And I'm just gonna say it's through finding community with other Black queer fans that keeps me going. Truly,
Yeah.
you know, we got us out here. Yeah.
And lastly, you brought up something I want to close on. The radical
Yeah.
space is usually in the underground. Um, Once upon a time, in like hip hop and even like neo soul, you could hear like radical messages like in the mainstream in black music. Rather if it's like I said, like soul music, neo soul music, rap music in the '90s. Um, but that's gone now. It's all went to the underground. Do you ever see a time where we will hear black radical music in the mainstream, or do you think that's a time of the past?
No, I think the time is probably now. Honestly,
Mm,
I think I think I think it's already happening in some ways, and I think people are doing what they think are radical, but need an update on their politics. Um, on the mainstream. But I think we're kind of in unprecedented times again, and similarly unprecedented times that we've seen throughout history that have called for like people in the mainstream
sure.
fighting power again. I think the time is coming because it always comes back around. Until the project is complete, it's always going to come back around. You know.
That's a fact. Well, yeah. If there's any last words you got for the people out there, the floor is yours.
Um, free Palestine, free Sudan, free Congo. Stay black and alive.
I think what you said was important, but you whispered it, so we didn't hear it. So you gotta say it again.
Okay. I said free Palestine, free Congo, free Sudan,
See that?
free Black America, stay black and alive.
See,
And I love
we heard
peace.
everything else you said. They were trying to mute you right there. You know, they ain't want you to get that message off, man. As soon as you
I know
said
they
that.
didn't.
For everybody watching, I appreciate you guys. Next interview you see from me, I will say the word charlatan 10 times. Until until next time, I say what I mean. I mean what I say. Haters gonna hate, players gonna play, and y'all holla at yo boy.